Hey everybody, I'm Gray Doolin. I am a desire and intimacy coach, and I am back for Q&A Thursday. It's been a while, been a few weeks. We took a little hiatus. The first week of October, Instagram deleted my account that I had there, and so I took that as an invitation and a sign to put myself in a timeout, to think about what a bad boy I've been, to, have them delete my account. And after some very intense reflection about all that I had done wrong, I'm back today. All of that is like laughing my ass off in case you missed the sarcasm there. But anyway, it was a much welcome break. And so took a few weeks off of social media, and I'm back with the regular Q&A Thursday here today. Also, if you were following me on Instagram and wondered where I went, I had a few people reach out to me and be like, did you block me? What happened? And I was like, no, boo, I didn't block you. I just disappeared off the, I broke Instagram and went away for a while. But I'm back over there at Gray_Doolin. So if you want to follow me on Instagram again, that's where I'm at. I'd love to see you over there. But today's question is about the framework that underscores the work that I do. And it is what is the Embodied Manifestation Method, and why the hell should I care? I'm going to tell you. Actually, I don't really care if you don't care. You're a sovereign being, so you do you. But I'll tell you the benefits of it. I'll sell it, and then you can make your choice. That's how it works. So, what is the Embodied Manifestation Method, or EMM? It has 4 pillars. The first is embodiment. The second is increasing our capacity for sensation. The third is redeveloping self-trust, or developing more self-trust. And then the last pillar is naming and acknowledging our desires. This is the framework that I have used to drastically change my life, and the framework that I use in my work with clients. And so just to expound a little bit on each of those pillars briefly, embodiment is literally just being present with the sensations that are happening in our bodies currently, in this present moment. It is simple, but not easy. But we leave our bodies all of the time. We go in our minds, we go to screens, we go to food, we go to people, all of these things looking outside of ourselves. No judgment on any of that, but we do. We leave the sensations happening in our body, mostly because they're unpleasant or we don't have capacity for them, which leads into the second pillar, which is increasing our capacity to be with that sensation. And so why would we want to do that? One is that, so we can, the more capacity that we have to be with that sensation, just the more capacity we have to receive. And so if there are things in our lives that we want to receive, but our bodies can't hold, they're not going to come in. Our bodies will protect us because that's their job. They're really good at it. Our bodies are so good to us in that way. Although our minds are I really want this thing. And the body's nope, can't handle it. So I'm not going to let it happen. Thank you, body. And also, how can we bridge these two things together, right? So how can we increase the capacity then for the sensation that is already present before we even bring in other stuff? The embodiment piece is really becoming aware of the sensation that is there, and then increasing our capacity to sit with that, and then bring in more sensation if that's what we desire. This third piece then is about developing or redeveloping self-trust. Most of us, for one reason or another, that self-trust was broken. Insert your life story or example there about why that was. But for many of us, especially if we were socialized as feminine beings or come from marginalized identities or communities, we received so many messages from the external outside world about who we were, what we're supposed to be. We became these things in order to receive love or to get these external things as kids because that's what we needed to survive. And so we just, sort of this abandonment of self. Again, without any judgment, of course. But then how do we begin to reestablish that relationship with self to say, oh, this thing is arising in me. This is my truth. This belongs to me. How can I honor that? How can I trust myself enough to say, well, the thing that you want from me is out of alignment with what I'm feeling here, so I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to trust myself that that isn't a thing that either feels good or is in alignment. This is not a thing I want for my life, or just et cetera, et cetera. So how do we come back home to the trust that is here? rebuilding that, and like really becoming, you know, that, I mean, all of this is about intimacy and relationship with self, but like this one in particular about like how do we begin to like build trust with self again. And then the last pillar is around naming and acknowledging our desires. And I want to just like be clear is that like desires does not always mean these like wild, you know, like I want to like be on OnlyFans, or I want to like move across the country, or I want to like desire is just, it's like what we want. And so are we aware of, are we in touch enough with our bodies, the sensations, the things that are arising there? You know, can we like delineate like what's trauma that's coming up, what's excitement that's coming up, what's a like real red flag about a situation or a person that's coming up, or is that past story? Like, do we have enough literacy with our bodies, with our nervous systems to like tease apart the nuance there to say, you know, what is it that I want? Like, what is coming up? Like, what are the desires? Can I name them? And can I acknowledge them? Can I say yes to them? Can I move in the direction of them or begin to explore that in some way? And so all of these things work together. I mean, we like, there is a level of awareness in the body that needs to be there in order to say like, oh, that is a desire, or like that's coming from this like old childhood pattern where I think I want this thing, but it is really to et cetera, like fill in the blanks for you, you know? Like it's like, it's detective work. It's sort of like, it is splitting hairs sometimes. It's just, but that's that intimacy, that like love of self of like, I want to like get in there and like understand what's coming from where, because I want to live my best fucking life. That's why. And so why you should care, and I already said this at the beginning, like if you don't, that's fine. You're like probably not even watching this. But like the either potential clients that I talk to and the clients that I work with, I work with such fucking brilliant people. Like they're so smart. They can like, you know, the way that they like piece information together and like process stuff and understand themselves and have this self-awareness and like the talents that they're putting out into the world, they're just brilliant beings. And they're so in their heads. They're like, it's so heady. And so often, like, you know, and I've had this experience myself, is that oftentimes, you know, when we can do, like, we're the best analyzer, we can, like, do the best analysis, or we understand ourselves, or we can see this pattern, but, like, you know, it's really about where the rubber hits the road. It's like, okay, what is the distance between where I am and what I say that I want, or what I know that I want? You know, like if in all of my relationships I know I need to set better boundaries or give less, or there needs to be more equal exchange, or I need to stop, like I really want to stop attracting people who like, I don't know, like bring up this certain feeling within me. But yet like no matter how hard I try, I have it all figured out up here. I'm so smart. I've been in like years of therapy. I know all of the things. That distance between, I know that like these are things that I want to shift and it's just not happening. That's a disconnect between what's happening here and then bringing the body on board with that. Because the body is just acting in, like it's just going to keep doing the same things. So how do we, like the whole thing about embodiment and sensation and all of that, it's about disrupting those patterns. It's about the awareness of getting in there, understanding them, and then doing something different. It's all about that disruption. And without understanding what's going on here, it's really hard to disrupt, because we're just going to keep like plugging along and doing the exact same things. So if that's your experience of, you know, like I want to stop overcommitting, or I want to say no more, or like this is the type of, or like this is the thing I really want and it's like just not happening, or it's just not coming through, like it's time to like move from here at being a very like heady expression understanding, and let's like drop it down into the body and work with it that way. That's what is gonna, that's the shift. That is where creation, that's where that is where it all comes from, right here. That's why you should care. If you like want things to be different in your life and they're just not, and you've tried everything. That's my sell on that. You could take that or leave that for what it is. But yeah, that's the framework that I work with. And like I said around the desires, and this was really important to me because I know that, you know, like my work it's been very, very sensational and very sexy, and all of that. But again, the desires, they don't need to be that to like fall within this framework at all. because the recent example from my own life is that these past 3 weeks, yes, Instagram deleted my account, but I also like needed deep rest, like I don't remember having rested like that in a long, long time. And so if I apply the framework to this, to like my own framework, right? The sensations that were happening in my body were, I felt deeply overwhelmed. I felt inflamed. I had the sensation of inflammation. I felt overwhelmed. I felt exhausted, just like exhaustion. I felt confusion about like what was happening, which is probably more of a mental interpretation rather than a sensation. So I guess a sensation would be like anxiety or fear around that. Like I felt contracted around, I didn't understand what was happening. And so in my increasing capacity to sit with all of that, I mean, that was a huge part of the practice, which was just to allow that to be and sort of like love that unconditionally, right? Is to say, oh my God, that like, I mean, this feels terrible, like the sensation, terrible, a thing that like I don't want to feel, but like, can I just allow it to be here? Can I like surrender and turn myself over to it? Because there's clearly something important going on and something that my body is trying to tell me. And that goes back to this self-trust piece, is that what my body was trying to tell me through naming and acknowledging the desires was like to just stop fucking going, to just rest. I'm telling, like, I mean, days spent in bed, just like literally just like laid out, stop moving, eat, maybe like take a walk around the neighborhood if I had energy for that. Not a lot of like contact. I mean, just like really just like a deep internal retreat and rest. And so redeveloping that self-trust, and I fought it for a minute because this is like, I don't know, it's human. It's also like what I do. I was in the middle of a launch. I was like, what? Like I'm supposed to be like high producing out there doing these things, and like my body's asking me to stop. And so part of that repair of trust with self was saying, okay, I don't understand what's happening. In this moment, I don't need to understand what's happening. I'm listening to the sensations happening in my body. I'm listening to what my body is asking for, which is to stop moving and to like give myself, and I gave that to myself. It was terrifying because like I said, I didn't understand it, you know, and the mind has all these stories about like, is it going to be like this forever? Like, did I do something wrong? Et cetera, like all of that. But like in the moment using that framework, like that was the thing that like delivered me then on the other side of the like the multi-week process that was just sort of riding those waves to be like whatever birth canal I came out of on the other side of that. And I'm like here now, and I'm changed and I'm different, like drastically. I mean, it feels more internal, but like just like a drastic internal shift because I said yes. Like my body was like leading me through something very important, hugely important. And I said yes to that. I said like, I trusted myself. Even though I was like, at the same time. It's both, you know? So I wanted to give that example because, again, it's not always about, like, going after the job or the, like, $10,000 investment or, like, all, you know, like, doing escort work or whatever. It's, like, not, doesn't always need to be these, like, high sensation, whatever. That's the only way that I can expand or, like, become who I want to be in my life. Like, no. Like, this is also about the, like, it just is about listening to ourselves and about that intimacy. That is what it's about. And then you get to plug in whatever you want or whatever is coming up or arising for you, like in that process, in that moment, about where that's going to lead you. And that, I don't know, that's the thing that like I think is so, like such a beautiful part of this process of like saying yes to ourselves and trusting like our bodies and our process to carry us exactly where we need to be, where we need to go. So that's what I have for you today on today's Q&A. I want to give you just like a little heads up is that I'm going to start doing these monthly skills labs. And so for folks, and it's invite only for folks who are on my mailing list. And so these are going to be monthly skills labs where we're going to practice together the like tools and skills that I talk about in my work. So it's going to be stuff around embodiment practices, doing the increasing our capacity for sensation, naming, acknowledging our desires, we can do some negotiation conversations, like all the things I talk about in my work, we're going to be practicing them together. It'll be monthly things. So if you want to be on the VIP list for that and get these invites, make sure you get on my mailing list. They're free, these labs, for anyone who are on the list. So you can find the link for that in my bio, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram. I'll also put it in the comments below on Facebook. And I am so excited to be practicing those skills with you all and can't wait to see you there. Also, please keep sending me your questions for these Q&As. I love you.